folks. Good afternoon. Not sure I made the right choice there, going straight, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Well, read lots of fun things today about vehicle safety. So the verdict came out a couple weeks ago. Riverside, California, finding that Tesla was not responsible for a crash that killed someone. So a man's driving with a woman and a child. Don't believe that they're a family, nuclear family. The car veers off the road into a tree. It's a Tesla. Kills the driver on impact. Pretty heavily injures the passengers. Passengers go to trial against basically only Tesla, claiming that the autopilot caused the wheel to turn 43 degrees into the tree. Personally, I think it's a problematic argument because, one, the software on these cars tracks everything. It knows when autopilot's on or not. The better argument is that the lane line reader on the lane keep malfunctioned. Why they weren't making this argument, I don't know. I don't have the data. I'm not involved in the case. But that to me is a more compelling argument. So they go to trial. Tesla relies on two things. One, the driver had consumed alcohol before the crash. That's a problem because you're going to have, it's a problem for a couple reasons. One, it's almost prejudicial to the jury. And I know that sounds crazy, but after someone has died, reconstructing their blood alcohol content is basically impossible. You can pay a toxicologist a lot of money to speculate on what the tissue readings say, but if you can't take a breathalyzer of a corpse, which you can't, you've got problems. You can take the blood alcohol content at some point in time, but you cannot meaningfully use that data with a straight face. Plaintiffs said, look, the blood alcohol content levels were not, under that state's law, intoxicating. Okay, you can say that, but that data is problematic at best. What you probably do have is surveillance footage from a bar of this person drinking, then driving, with a kid on. Not great optics. And if you're Tesla, you are sharing fault with the allegedly drunk driver. So you're plaintiff, you say to Tesla, look, even if you're 5% at fault on $100 million, give us $5 million, right? Tesla's going to say, no, we are not going to, like any product liability matter, the settlements are hard to come by, and you really, because once you do that, you've opened the door. And have I worked with Tesla in claims? A little bit. What do I know about Tesla? They've got data on everything. If they say that autopilot was not engaged, autopilot was probably not engaged. Now, what else do we know? We know that autopilot was removed, disabled on a lot of Teslas. Is it because of incidents like this? Maybe. Do big companies lie to cover themselves up? Sure. But when I've worked with Tesla, they will take full control of their vehicle. Why? Because they are on a mission to make these things work. They're on a mission to make them the safest way to travel. And then you get into this bizarre hegemonic, well, our data is so wonderful and safe that, you know, people who think that we've done something wrong are overlooking the bigger picture of what we're doing. And that's a run-on sentence to say Tesla believes that their mission is so important that any errors that they make they consider inconsequential or a mistaken focus on. There's a Tesla right next to me. It's a mistaken focus on the ephemeral. And if you really believe that philosophy, could that lead you to cover things up in order to avoid damaging the larger mission? You know, it gets into really, you know, these employees often hold stock. You know, it gets into really murky waters as far as I'm concerned. But nobody knows the cars better than they do. That's just the other truth to the matter, is that you don't have independent analysts who can look at a Tesla and do this stuff. The Tesla controls all the data, they take it down, and if they say the sky's blue, the sky's blue. Not going to be a lot of negotiation. But I think that this was an interesting trial because obviously they were the last defendant unwilling to settle. Whoever the insurer was for the driver, I'm sure paid up plenty, and there's usually pretty healthy insurance policies on these cars because they often tend to be owned by high income or high net worth individuals. At least at one point in time. That's probably changing slightly now. So they're going to have an umbrella policy. They're going to have higher than average liability limits. Nevertheless, the product liability issues associated with self-driving cars are not going to go away. And they're the biggest problem that we have as professionals in this field. What do we do about a self-driving car that causes an accident? What do we do about the ethical conundrum that comes along every day? You're on a road and there's a duck in the road. You're going 10 miles an hour. Do you stop for the duck? Yes. You're on a road like this one, you're going 66 miles an hour and there's a duck in the road. Do you stop? Do you kill the duck? What does PETA have to say about the fact that you just killed that duck? Okay, fine. We'll stop for the duck. Okay? So now we're going from 65 to 0 as fast as we can, automatically, mind you, without driver control. And this box truck behind me plows into me going 45 miles an hour because it can't stop. Right? Your effort to stop one loss has created another loss. It's you know, if you're a thinking person, it's easy to run through these scenarios pretty quickly. We got a problem because we have to make judgment calls and value choices. And I think the only way to get around this is to use public policy and embed public policy into automated driving vehicles. Obviously, you're not going to choose to drive into a tree when you're on the road. But what if there's a group of school kids standing in the road because their bus broke down Do you drive into the tree to protect the large group? Do you hit the brakes and plow into the kids anyways? There are so many scenarios. I would almost argue it's impossible for software, as it sits today, to anticipate and make these value judgments. Because every situation is so unique and so difficult to understand. How do we know a group of birds? How do we identify the difference between a group of birds and a group of children? How do we know what we're seeing? And if we can't conquer these questions, self-driving cars are dead. They will never work. And I'm hearing more and more scholars outright say that, fully automated driving just isn't going to happen. They're taking it off the table. They're saying this is so difficult, and that's unusual, because when I started working in this field, I could see, I could foresee, especially in, insulated urban type communities, you can embed infrastructure such as traffic signals into the car using wireless technology. So if a car's coming, turn the light green because we know a car's coming. All these different things that we can do to optimize travel are possible if we can get over these hurdles. And the problem that we talk about at the trade conferences are the questions I just mentioned. How do we represent our values in programming? And I don't mean conference programming, I mean in software programming inside of a vehicle. How do we solve the streetcar problem in philosophy, right? To kill yourself, to save the people on the tracks, or what have you. There's a lot to figure out here still. And again, I think my view is right. We can't let Elon Musk decide who lives and dies in these situations. You also can't say that you've got to have two hands on the wheel and be fully at attention either, because that's a cop-out. That's what the original autopilot required. Now actually, if you do use it, you have to have both hands on the wheel. It used to be you could hop in the back seat and take a picture of the car driving you. It was a thing. I've seen it done. Today, I think that it disables if it doesn't detect both hands on the wheel. All right, and that's why I say they've taken it away, because functionally, if you actually require both hands on the wheel as a hard requirement, you're not going to get the same experience. You're also just not providing the same service, right? If I want a self-driving car, if I'm going to pay good money for one, I want to be able to put my hands in my lap and watch a movie. I want to be able to read something. I want to be able to eat a snack, eat a meal on my commute without having to worry about changing lanes when the time is right, to stay at my regular speed or whatever it is. And if we can't provide that service to people, we're not answering the call, as far as I'm concerned. Now, we are seeing more news about self-driving cars. There was a crash in one of the pilot cities that a lot of people are saying is robocabs are done. I don't remember the details on it. It turned a corner improperly and caused harm to something, person or property, and essentially robocabs, as that movement began, the first way to get people comfortable is, you're not going to sell somebody self-driving car to just take over their commute like mine. The way to do it is baby steps by programming fixed geographic areas into the car, such as, you know, some city blocks in a friendly city. Let's say, you know, Tucson, Arizona wants to get on the map, so they come to one of these companies and say, look, in this part of town, or you know, whatever the territory is, come out here, scan our buildings, scan our roads, and program them into your car, and we'll have self-driving vehicles within this certain territory. Okay, at least wherever the city has some control over jurisdiction, right? So you could be even Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, that's a pretty big sprawling area, even though that doesn't cover the Metroplex. But you can say, look, for intra-city travel, we have programmed robo-taxis. They are programmed to go anywhere within our city, just our city, and try it out. See if you're comfortable. See if you like it. That's a great way to start the process. Of course, then you've got the famous Silicon Valley episode where the self-driving cab drives the guy onto an overseas shipping container, which closes and then sends him off into the ocean because it was programmed to be, to go there on accident or something. Obviously, mistakes are going to happen. Here's the downside to that I see, is that livery service is always a hands-free experience anyways. So what's the necessary benefit of removing the driver? You just have a quieter experience? You don't have to talk to somebody? I mean, it's not a terrific advantage as far as I'm concerned. You just end up, it's like self-checkout kind of. You're on your own. Something goes wrong, you're kind of on your own. You have to call someone over to help. And that's not going to be fun. So, while you've got certain structural advantages to the robo-cab movement, it's really not solving the problem people like me have. The problem that I have is I have to drive and find something to do. So what do? I struggle. I come to blathering about my job once or twice a day on a tape, on a camera, because it's just such a big block of my life that's not being enjoyed the way it should be. And can I call people? Can I listen to content? Those options are there, but because of this age of this car, I actually have a lot of limitations in content. Now, if I could sit back, forget about the world, and watch a movie on Netflix or news, just like I'm on a flight, suddenly it becomes a lot more tolerable. And it becomes worth paying for. I'm not like every case. I'm not your average person, probably, but I see value in that because I have a long commute, because I don't have the benefits and access to mass transit. And that's the other question city planners have to ask themselves is, are we going to destroy the future of mass transit by giving people these hands-free options? You might. If I had a choice between sitting in a private car and sitting on a public bus or a train, I'm going to pick the private car. But you've also got affordability. And I mean that from the perspective of building new mass transit systems. They are pretty expensive, obviously. And you have to have a population that supports them. You have to have sufficient ridership to make it work. I mean, I don't know how many times I see a bus driving around empty. I see it all the time. And these buses are going to go to their stops whether there's somebody on it or not. And they're paying pensions to the bus drivers, wages to the bus drivers, insurance and other benefits to the bus driver's family. It's not a very low-paying job, nor is it a very easy job. But it's hard to make all that make sense when you're just charging people sometimes nothing. In many instances, the buses are just free, or it's $1 a person a few times a day. I mean, Uber's collecting far more revenue, I would think, than a single city bus. And which one has, the right environmental impact? I don't know. But there's a lot of questions to unpack as this goes forward, right? Do we want to destroy mass transit? Do we want to revolutionize it and say, heck yeah? Because maybe if we really focus on efficiency, we start collecting the data on who goes where, right? That's one of the benefits of these self-driving vehicles, is there's going to be over-the-air data on transportation. So once we get people traveling in data harvesting vehicles, we can figure out who's commuting where and when. And once we figure out who is commuting where and when, we can start combining people. It's basically going to come full circle in communities that don't have trains and so forth. Okay, great. We can provide a self-driving larger vehicle carpool. This location to this location, hop out, change cars, hop into the next one. It's very feasible. So for me, I could ride without owning a car. So that's what I'm getting at here, is we can remove car ownership from the equation for a lot of people in places where that usually isn't an option. By having self-driving mass transit, but on a more medium scale. So you've got the Knoll Avenue northbound ride. Okay, let's say it's actually a fixed taxi-like car. Okay, it goes from 167th at Knoll all the way to 435 interchange. Alright? It does it, maybe it does it 30 times a day. Alright? You can sit in a leather upholstered electric trolley, essentially, that follows the same roads, has no driver, and it just drives you to 435, or my commutation every day. And you can hop off at all the stops you saw. You can hop off at College Bowl, well, maybe not. You have to have a hub, right? But there are key stops there that are important. So you could stop a lot, theoretically. Or you could have multiples that go to different locations. Then once I get off at the 435, I can hop on, the Blue Springs Express that takes you all the way around the loop, all the way to Blue Springs. Then from Blue Springs, you get one that takes you to Green Valley, where my office is. Maybe there's a Blue Springs, Green Valley, Oak Grove Express that can all the way there. But my point is that once you get the data figured out, you can work backwards and create an entirely new mass transit system. And if you socialize this, if you will, if you make it state-owned, state-run, public policy and the data is all there, there's really not a lot of reasons to travel as we know it couldn't be revolutionized. You can go point to point to point, and you can make owning a car so cost-prohibitive that people will eventually just go along. Make fueling a car so cost prohibitive. The last dinosaurs like me will be on the road next to people who are having daggum happy hour right now. They could be sitting in their electric self-driving trolleys drinking beer with friends on their way home. You could set it up so that you and your friends ride home together. Instead of a commute by yourself, you could actually schedule it in a way that you're with people that you know. You can make it a social experience. You can make it whatever you want to make out of it, right? There's a lot of potential there that can really only be optimized with the data. And that's what we're working on right now. Not we, as in myself, but that industry is working on collecting driving data, driving patterns, charging patterns. I mean, there's just so much to be worked out. Oh boy, God darn it, this visor is getting in my way. There's just a lot to be done, and I think the future could be very interesting. I don't love the issues that come from electric cars. I'm not certain they're the future, but if we make it work and we continue to follow the technological trends, then this really only leads to one place, and that is likely the end of the private automobile. It may not be in my lifetime, but it's a probability in the next 80 years people will have gone back to group travel for the most part, assuming the technology goes where it appears to be going. Oh my gosh, speaking of technology, you would never sit in traffic like this ever again if the technology, as you'll see in a moment, if the technology is allowed to thrive. I can't go this way. I don't really know what road this is, but I'm not driving on that. I think I can take this frontage road. So what I like to do is anchor myself to a vehicle that I see. And see if I'm going faster than it. So far. Okay. I mean, I've not seen traffic. This has got to be Thanksgiving holiday traffic. I don't know what else. Oh no. The light's too short. Why haven't they added seconds? Oh man. Well, this could be a long drive. really surprised at how quick that light was. That was not ideal. Sadly, it would appear they're not crawling much faster than me. Oh wow, there's a cat in the car in front of me. I don't know if you can see it, but in this Ford Titanium, the cat just walked across the dashboard. Talk about a safety hazard. Get me through this light. Tell me I'm not going right back onto the highway I just got off, and that I can't continue down an outer road. Okay, good. Got an outer road I can continue on, at least for the time being. I mean, even the exit-only lanes are blocked, and that's so rare. Usually those are moving at some speed. Since there's a roundabout, I really, to be honest, I don't know where I'm going. Okay, I can go east or west, but I want to go south. So thanks for the option. Does that mean I need to get out of the inner lane? Most likely. No, not necessarily. Oh my goodness. Okay. We continue to move for what it's worth. It's going to stay congested on this side and that side. I'm going to have to go through the entire city of Grandview. It's going to be a few miles. Will I even save any time? I don't know. Does look like the road's moving a little faster. But these lights will be slow. Oh boy, and short. Truck is doing something I'm impressed by. Oh, well, he's doing what I need to do, and that's get over, because we're in a turn-only lane. Doggone it all. Maybe I can do this. Also not ideal. Oh my gosh. So I'm next to a truck that is also not straight in its lane. When a green light comes, it will be brief. And this truck could hit me. Oh my God. Have I made a mistake? Only if I can't move. Only if that truck moves before me. And he's moving. God darn it. Oh boy. Good man. He got very close, but we're good. I might miss the light. I don't even care. Right. Should we be getting back on the highway? Yes. Can I get back on the highway? I don't know. I can't see the traffic, which is annoying. This guy doesn't want to let me over. What a jerk off. Not moving fast, but it's better than the 35 miles per hour on this road. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been your tour of Grandview, Missouri, a city so great that everybody's trying to drive through it in every way possible. Back into the sea of bread. sides. Yeah, I'm not going to be home for a while. Of course, I get back on the road, it's not moving, but... And I could have driven by the doggone Tasty Cake shop, if you can see it over there. Always wanted to go there. It's open, no one there. Look at that. Loaf of bread, $1.35. A snack cake for 75 cents. Doesn't that sound fun? I don't know what I pay for bread, but it's probably a heck of a lot more than $1.35. There's my second promotion I've made. I didn't even know, but I can't say I've been there that I like it. We had a similar shop when I was a kid. We called it the Day Old Bread Store. Day Old Bread Store. Buy a loaf of bread in those days for about 65 cents. And I think it was the bread they take out of the grocery store that didn't sell. It's on its last legs. It's going to become bird feed or something. So I say, come buy it here and eat it quick. Or in my family's case, we'd buy a lot of it and freeze it. Exposed me to a lot of bread products that I normally probably wouldn't have had. You know, raisin bread. That was a fun bread. Cinnamon raisin. Boy, that's good stuff. With you toast it, you put some butter on it. Yeah, now we're talking. It's got raisins in it. Yeah, like a mile away from the exit, where I'll still have another 20 minutes. Gosh. Well, this started out, you know, as an interesting conversation with myself that I think is important for us all to think about. Because what I said when I first saw this is true. With the right data analytics, we can solve traffic jams. You won't have a traffic jam ever again because you won't have the behavior modalities that create the nonsense that we see right here. And it's all usually caused by one person doing one thing dumb. That's right, I said dumb. D-U-M-B. Somebody comes out of an exit ramp and slams their brakes, and the person in the right lane of traffic does the same thing, and it creates a cascade effect that travels through the entire rest of the traffic that comes through. Now, everybody will have to slow down on that spot for seemingly no reason. And the reason is someone made a mistake 45 minutes ago or an hour ago that caused this to happen. Now, am I being too rosy in that analysis? Oh yeah. Because guess what else makes sudden stops? Automatic braking systems. They want to stop all the time, often for no reason. A mistake, a misread of the object, thinking that there's something there that isn't. Something being there that shouldn't be. Somebody pulling a prank. Somebody putting a rock in the road, a big rock. Somebody throws a brick onto a windshield from an overpass. I mean, all these different scenarios can easily disrupt traffic in ways that are not anticipated by the rosy planners who will promise you all these things, right? I'm intrigued by it, but I'm not sold on it, and that's the difference. Easily intrigued, hard to sell. Well, dark when I left, it'll be dark when I get home. Going to have a holiday pretty soon, see some family I haven't seen in a while. That's exciting for me. Show my kids some new folks that they need to see more of. Also exciting for me. do a bit more work. So the photo shoot went fairly well. And I have a photo that I plan to submit for publication. My wife wants to edit it herself, which she is furiously doing, perhaps all night. That's okay. My hair wasn't perfect, my outfit was close, my appearance was as good as it's going to be for being a dumpy 38-year-old. Cleaned up fairly well, trimmed up my beard, best I can do. I'm sure the photographer and editors will do the best that they can as well. The boss saw me dressed in a suit. I seemed to understand. I did not really seem to clarify. I was busy. I don't know why some people have a tendency to come bother you at the absolute worst possible time. And I find it to be stunning because I'll get a call. There's this one guy who calls me, like actual calls. And it's like, if you could have picked, and I don't know how you can do it, but if you could pick the absolute worst ever moment in time to buzz my phone. I mean, this guy knows how to do it. And it's usually during the daytime, on a day when I am just slammed. And I think to myself, how in the heck did you know? How did you know that this was the worst possible time to call me? I'm just stunned that someone could be so good at figuring that out. And I usually don't take the call. I don't take many calls, actually. But if you leave a message with my assistant, I will get back with you. Well, I am tired, I suppose. I broke my diet finally. I had myself a cheeseburger for lunch and some fries. It was underwhelming, but I'm full. For the first time in 3 days, I am really full. The diet is over, but the lesson's there, right? It felt good to eat clean, and I need to do that more. I probably will. Eventually I won't have a choice. But right now I still have a choice. I'm very interested in these articles about Ozempic, the weight loss drug, and how it's changing food purchasing patterns. Junk food dealers like Krispy Kreme are saying, oh, we got a problem because with appetite suppressed, people are going to fill up on their regular meals. They're not going to go out for that donut or that ice cream afterwards, right? And if they don't, some of these businesses can disappear. And it's obviously such a ubiquitous medication that it's changing a lot of these things. Even holidays, right? If you have a genetic disposition to, say, type 2 diabetes, everybody in your family's going to have it, at least the older folks. So what happens on Thanksgiving Day? Nobody's eating as much. You don't need as much food. The bigger question for me, with drugs like that, I could probably get one if I applied myself. The question for me is, what's the real cost? Where's the catch? There is going to be a catch. We don't know it today, but we will know it someday. I'm old enough to know that. I'm old enough now, I've seen the commercial selling the drug, and then 10 years later I see the commercial from the law firms who are saying, did you take this drug? You know, this drug caused this, this, and this. You've got cancer and a tail now. Did you grow a tail because you took Propecia to get your hair back? Call us today and we'll get you compensation. And that's the catch, right? People took a drug because they lost their hair. Their hair, they were balding, genetically or stress-induced, whatever. You've gone bald, or you're balding, so you say, I can take a pill for that. I can solve that problem. No real catch, right? We've solved baldness with a pill. No, you didn't. And Ozempic hasn't solved obesity with an injection. It just hasn't. There's no such thing as the miracle drug. The universe requires a reckoning. It will always require balance. It will always require... And of course there's a train. Oh my gosh. The universe will require balance, always. So if you're putting a drug in your system that does something good today, it has to do something suboptimal tomorrow. There's no way around it. We don't know what it is yet. We'll find out. Especially if you take it chronically. I'd like to be wrong, but I just don't think I am. It's like saying, well, hey, I can drink this bourbon and it's delicious. Well, what's the consequence of that? You drink a bottle of it, you get a hangover, right? The universe brings balance. There will be a balance. There will be a reckoning on everything that you do. That's my belief. It may not be visible to others. It may not be visible to you. It will always come back around. That's a principle I live by. Now, if you told me you get to be skinny, but you have diarrhea every day, okay, I'll buy that. I'll accept that. Not to say I'll take the deal. I'm not going to take the drug. But if you told me that it'll make you thin, but you're going to have the runs every day that you're on this drug, I'll say, you know what? That makes sense. That's a balance. I'll accept that balance, right? I'll accept that that exists. But I'm not going to accept that you can just take a drug, it solves your problems, indulges your vanity, without having consequences. I cannot believe that is true. It is the same snake oil that's been sold to us for as long as shamans have existed. Trade me your venison and I'll give you this magical herb that doesn't really do anything. It started there thousands of years ago. 10 minutes longer than the morning drive. How exhausting. 50 minutes. And I'm not done. I'm not done stopping for other cars. I'm not done yielding and burning fuel. Not only that, I get to drive about 5 hours tomorrow. I get to drive to and from work. And then I get to drive. I get to drive to Joplin, Missouri. Not Joplin, somewhere. You don't need to know where I'm going, or that I'm going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. If I am, I'm going by myself. Actually, I'm hosting Thanksgiving this year. It's going to be great. You don't know. Oh boy, I want to make this turn before this line of cars shows up. Come on, you jerk. You slow little jerk. Get out of the way. If I drove around in an eggshell, I'd act like it too. This is my latest arrival home in a long time. Well, from the office anyways. Out with today. So with that I will say